Hey y'all, long time no see. I know we'll get into the details about my absence in a couple minutes, but for starters, I just wanted to invite you back or invite you to my channel, Scotty Cherie Reads. Let's get into it. So I'm sure everyone's wondering where the hell I've been for the past month to month and a half. But it's all been good. No bad news. Mainly May is my birthday month, and I actually turned 30 this past month. So welcome to the Dirty 30 Club. And I just had a lot of things going on. So I started the month off with a cruise, a Caribbean cruise with my mom, which is a 10-day cruise. We went to, let me think if I can remember them all, Bahamas, St. Kitts, St. Thomas, Antigua, Tortola, St. Martin, and I think that's it. And we had a blast. It was kind of the first time my mom and I have had just a trip of just us two in quite a while. I mean, I see my mom pretty frequently, even though she lives in Indiana and I live in Arizona, but I'm the oldest of 5, so when we get together there's always a bunch of other people, which I love and adore them, but it was really nice to be able to just spend one-on-one time with my mom. As you could tell, we had a blast. So that was the first thing. And then when I came back, obviously needed a vacation from a vacation, so I had a couple of days off and spent some time with my husband. Then I had a couple friends that were in town kind of randomly and hung out with them. Then my actual birthday is towards the end of May, and my husband and I decided to do a little staycation. So we stayed at a little resort here in town for about 3 nights, and we just hung out, spent time together. We did a lot of pool hangs, a lot of reading, a lot of just enjoying our time together, which was what I wanted. And then I'm actually preparing today, because tomorrow I fly out to Montana, which is where my husband's from, and we're gonna be there for close to a week. So just busy bee, but it's all been awesome. But this coming month, aside from this Montana trip, which I'll still be able to read a lot on this trip, it's just kind of a family trip that we're doing, and content should be back rolling once a week moving forward. So that's a little rundown of my life, and we'll get into the actual content of what the video is in 1 second. Alright, so as you can tell from the title of the video, this is going to be kind of my June TBR. Because I didn't read a lot in May, some of the TBR that I had from the previous month would have rolled over. I'm still interested in those books, and you guys will be getting a March, April, and May wrap up. There's about 10 to 12 books in there, so it shouldn't be too long because I didn't read very much in May at all. I think I may have read one book. But since June is Pride Month, I figured I only wanted to read from queer authors or queer stories all of this month. And I figured that the best way to do that is to do a little like shop my shelves. So you see my bookshelves behind me. I'm gonna take you guys with me to kind of just scan my bookshelves and see what queer authors and stories I have already, because I'm sure that I have a lot. And then throughout the month, just kind of mood read based off of what I'm feeling, what genre I want, and that will be my TBR for the month of June. So I'm gonna grab a drink. You should grab a drink too, because this might be a little bit long. I'm going to angle the camera a little bit differently so we can go through each genre and give you a little rundown of the books that I'm obviously very interested in because I own them already. Yeah, so I will be back in 1 second. See you soon. Welcome to my shelves. So I am gonna go based off of genre because that's how my bookshelves are already set up. So we're gonna start with fantasy, which are these top 2 rows here. There's some more below it, but we'll get there. The top row is mainly my Illumicrate and Fairy Loot like special editions. And to be honest, y'all are gonna see that for quite a few of these, I don't know much about the storyline or the plot or anything about these books. Sometimes I know the author or I look it up ahead of time and see what the reviews look like and I'll just go for it. But as I've said in a couple previous videos, I have canceled my Fairy Loot, a subscription service. I have kept Illumicrate, but I can skip on those ones. So I've skipped a couple of months this month, and we'll see at the end of this year if I want to keep it or not. But anyway, that's a tangent for a different day. I guess we'll start with Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is one that I want to read, and actually I know that Tome Topple is back. I'll have links to that readathon below, but I'm very excited to have that back. And this is actually the book that I'm thinking of reading for the Tome Topple, since it's obviously over 500 pages. I actually don't know much about this. Surprise, surprise. All I know is there's a sapphic relationship, I believe, and that it's dragons and it's a standalone, and I love that, and I've heard nothing but good things about this. All I know is that there's two different sides, like East and West, and those are two different like cultures and dragons, and there's a war, and that's all I really need to know. I want to go into this pretty blind. And then there's the second one that I have here as well, but I'm sure I won't get to this one this month. I just want to start with Priory of the Orange Tree. Continuing on with this top shelf, I think Feybound is a queer novel as well. I believe there's a sapphic relationship in here. Like I said, I don't really go into my fantasy books knowing a lot. I like to just dive headfirst into the world and figure it out as I go. So I'll just read the back. It's really simple. It says, divided by blood, imprisoned by fate, bound by desire. Welcome to the intoxicating world of the Fae. So it's a Fae novel. That's all I really need to know. I know that there is a sapphic relationship in here, so if I want to pick this one up or I'm looking for another fantasy with sapphic relationship, I know that I could grab this one from my shelves. If you've read it, obviously with any of these books, let me know if you like it and if you think I will enjoy it. Moving down, I don't know a lot about these. I don't think A Fate Inked in Blood has a queer relationship. Looking in the inside, it looks like it's male-female. If I'm wrong, oops, but I'm also not really interested in reading that right now. Continuing to go through Fathom Folks one that I got not too long ago. I'm not sure if there's a sapphic relationship in here or queer relationship. Well, it looks like there's two guys on here. So maybe. I know it's Asian mythology, ocean folktales, for people with a fan of Jade City, The Bone Shard Daughter, and The House of Earth and Blood. This could be interesting. Let me actually grab my phone really quick and look on Goodreads to see if this is a queer book. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, so looking on my phone, when I look on Goodreads and I scroll all the way down, it has like the different genres. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see that. But if you can see, it doesn't say like queer or LGBTQ, and that's kind of what I base it off of, so I don't get the story like ruined for me, because like I said, I like to go into fantasy pretty blind. So we're gonna put this one back, and I'll pick up that one a different month, not Pride Month. Yeah, so those are really the only ones up top that I'm interested in that I pulled out. So Priory of the Orange Tree, thinking about that one. Feybound is a potential from up top. So this is my Brandon Sanderson shelf. Ignore that Tress is gone. I, spoiler alert, read it last month and loved it, so I'm gonna be talking about that in my wrap up in the next video. At least from the books that I'm on right now, there's not a lot of queerness in them, so I'm gonna not read a Brandy Sandy this month, and we're gonna move on down to the next fantasy shelf. Alright, so I have some more fantasy here. As I've mentioned in other videos, I am going to be doing a vlog for the Wayward Children series, which are all of these, and that will definitely be happening this month, and that video will be out this month, so be on the lookout for that. Poppy War, not so much. I'm not sure about Inkblood Sister Scribe, but I'm not really interested in that one at the moment, so I don't really care, to be honest. Most of these know A Song of Achilles and Circe. I'm actually really interested in picking these up soon. However, I really want to reread the Iliad and the Odyssey. So I just got those for my birthday, actually. You'll see those editions in a second. But I want to revisit those first and then jump into Song of Achilles, Circe, Ariadne, all of the other Greek retellings that are all like coming out right now. So yeah, there's not really anything else on here that screams like queer fantasy or what I am interested in picking up right now. So from this shelf, this is going to be my big fantasy portion this month with the Wayward Children series vlog, and that's about it. This is high on my priority to read the Iliad and Odyssey, but that probably won't happen this month, but we'll see. So let's move down to the next one. All right, the next fantasy shelf is here. As I'm scanning through, I don't really see anything that's shouting like queer to me. Sarah J. Maas, no. Definitely not reading Lord of the Rings right now. Brent Weeks, no. I don't believe Jade City is queer. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's one that I really want to pick up soon, but I don't think it screams queer to me. I could be wrong, so potentially, but I don't think that it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. Then The Name of the Wind, we're not even gonna talk about that. I've read the first one, haven't read the second one because we're waiting for the third book, which is never gonna come out. So yeah, nothing on the shelf. Let's go down to my last fantasy shelf. Sorry for the unflattering angles, like this is just what it's gonna be, but anyway, this is my last fantasy shelf. So no on Lord of the Rings. We're not gonna read Anne Rice, but I believe there's some over here that's calling my attention. So I have read Legends and Lattes and loved it, so I could pick up Bookshops and Bone Dust, which I'm intrigued to grab. So this is definitely a contender for something that I'll pick up in June for Pride Month. Another one is She Who Became the Sun. I actually don't know much about this book. It was a blind date with the book last time I was in Montana. I just know it is queer. I know there's a sapphic relationship in it. But other than that, that's all that I know. So this could be a contender for a fantasy to pick up this month. Middle Game. Hold on one second. Middle Game could be queer because Shauna McGuire, and I know herself or themself, is queer or non-binary, but I'm probably not going to get around to this because I'm going to be reading all of the other Wayward Children series. So since I love Shauna McGuire so much, I'm going to save this for another time. But this could be a potential if you're interested in a queer read. This is one you can go for. Look at me messing up my shelves. So yeah, that is the fantasy whole shelf. Let's go to the next shelf, which I believe is horror. Welcome to my horror shelves. So we're gonna go through and see. I don't feel like I'm not gonna have a lot that I already own for queer horror, because a lot of the ones that I do have, or the few that I do have, I've read already, but I'll shout them out and let you know a little bit of the synopsis in case you want to read them. But I'm definitely on the hunt for queer horror novels, so if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comment section below for me to check out. But yeah, so going through here, actually, I don't even see a lot. Bright Young Women has a sapphic relationship in it. This was one of my favorite books that I read last year. It's basically a retelling, kind of how Jeffrey Dahmer, just kidding, not Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy killed the girls at the sorority house and how he was caught, but it's told from the female perspective. I'll leave a link below from when I've talked about this book, but this is phenomenal. So if you're looking for a queer mystery thriller horror to read, this is a great one to pick up. Some of these I'm not sure about, like the Writing Retreat, not really sure, but not super interested in it. A Touch of Gin, I've heard of this one from BooksandLala. And I know it's a really weird one about this weird girl who's like potentially gonna be in like a throuple or threesome or something with the main couple. But that's all that I know. And I know that Lala was like, it's a fucking weird book, so just go into it blind. But I'll look and see if this is actually a queer read or not, because this might be something I want to pick up. Catherine House, I'm interested in, but I'm not sure if it's queer, so just give me 1 second to double check that on my phone. Okay, so it doesn't specifically say queer if you guys can read that. So I'm gonna pass on that, but I am interested to pick that one up. Let me know if you've read it. I know it's a polarizing book, but I am intrigued to see where I'm gonna fall. Ring Shell is one of my favorite horror novellas. There is a sapphic relationship, or I believe it's sapphic relationship in here. At least there's a lesbian main character. And yeah, I don't want to say much about this book. It's about the Ku Klux Klan that are actually like monsters in this world, and the main characters are pretty much hunting these Klan's monsters, and it's great. So pick this up if you haven't. Another one I really liked was Our Wives Under the Sea, which does have a sapphic relationship, and it's really, really good. Basically, one of the wives is lost in like a submarine, and ultimately she comes back and she's different. And it really tackles grief, loss. It's really weird, some ocean weirdness going on, but this was a great book. I love this one if you're looking for a queer, short sapphic horror novel, or novella, I guess I should say. Boys in the Valley, I don't know a lot about. I actually picked this up from Jordaline because several months ago, their book club was reading it, but I never got around to it. I got too busy, and it's just been sitting here. Oh, actually, it's signed, which is cool. But yeah, I mean, it could be sapphic. Not sapphic. It could be, oh my gosh, it could be a queer read, but I'm not sure. I'll look it up. Give me 1 second. This one doesn't say queer either, so it doesn't seem like it's a queer read, LGBTQ, so we'll skip on that one this time around. So continuing on to this shelf, this is mainly my Stephen King shelf, and I'm not going to read anything by Stephen King this month. I don't think that he's a queer figure. He's got a lot of problematic shit, so we're not going to read him this month, even though I do like his stuff. But yeah, and moving on, there's Joe Hill stuff, Chuck Palahniuk. Yeah, I'm not going to read anything on this shelf, but you can get a quick peek to see what's on here, and we're going to move down to the next shelf. On to the next shelf, which is also horror, mystery, thriller. Let's go through. No. The first one that's grabbing my eye is Manhunt. And this is one that I think I'll likely read this month. It is a trans story where they pretty much murdered TERFs, is how this was sold to me from one of my friends at the bookstore. So this is definitely one high up on this month's TBR. So I'll likely be picking this one up, and I'm very excited about it. Continuing on, I don't really see a lot of queer things aside from Eric LaRocca. And this one is Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. It's a super, super short book, so I'm not going to say anything. It's very intense, so read the trigger warnings, but this was a really great read. It says sadomasochism, obsession, death. Those are the words. So if you haven't picked this one up, this is awesome. But I actually have, and in the middle of The Skin Was Once Mine, so I will probably finish this month. I'm not far into it, so I only have one story left. There's 4 short stories in this collection, and I picked this up for the MB Book Club, which I'll leave the details down below, but I didn't finish it before the live stream, so I need to finish this one because I'm so close, and then go back and watch that live show. But this is one that will definitely fit the prompts for the queer reads this month, and I will be finishing that this month. Continuing on, I don't really see anything else. Boy Parts could be sapphic. I just know it's the female version of American Psycho, and I just picked this up not too long ago. But let me look on Goodreads and see if it says specifically LGBTQ or queer. 1 second. Oh, it does. It says it right on there. So That's one I'm definitely gonna push up there because I'm very intrigued. You guys probably saw this. I'll link my my first book haul that I put on my channel. This was in there. So yeah, this one looks great. Between Manhunt and Boy Parts, I'll probably be reading one, if not both of them this month. And that seems all for for mystery, thriller, horror. So we're gonna move on down to my Black contemporary reads. Alrighty, so here is my Black contemporary shelf. I have a feeling that there's probably not gonna be a lot of queer books on here, but we'll see. Let's go through the shelf really quickly together. Okay, none of these look promising. One that I do know, and it's on my list that's queer, is The Prophets. The Prophets is one that I got from Book of the Month back in January of 2021. So it's overdue to read this, which is the point of this TBR, is to read things that are already on my shelf so I can get through my backlist. And all I know is that this is a debut novel that is about two enslaved gay men, so it's part of their journey of, I believe, running away and their relationship while still being enslaved. So I'm sure this is gonna pack a heavy punch, but this is one that I'm really happy I found a Black contemporary, so I will more than likely read this month since there's not very many options of Black contemporary books that have queer characters or storylines, plot. So yeah, The Prophet. But I mean, looking at my shelf really quickly, I don't really see many others. If you do, let me know below and I'll throw it on and kind of see if that's something that I would want to read. But I really don't think any of these other ones are very queer. So let's move down to my romance and contemporary shelf below. From looking at the shelf, I already see quite a few that I could read. So for starters, Nevada is one of the most monumental trans books, and I read this for actually my Phoenix book club a couple years ago and quite enjoyed it. It's kind of a coming of age story for the trans character. There's a road trip involved. I didn't love it, but I feel like it's such a cult classic and just a monumental piece in queer literature that I have to mention it, and that's Nevada by Imogen Benny. Another one that I really want to pick up that I have not read yet is another queer classic, which is The Great Believers, and this is a story that takes place during the AIDS epidemic, and that's all I know, and that's all that really I need to know in order to pick this one up. The back says, set in Chicago in 1984 and Paris in 2015, The Great Believers is a story of how love can both rescue and destroy us, a thrilling, addictive novel full of characters whom the readers comes to know as friends, colleagues, and lovers. So this sounds very interesting. This is definitely a contender for me to pick up this month. Another one that I see right here is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. These are a collection of like stories or essays that he wrote for his mother who doesn't speak English about his kind of coming of age and his relationship with the world in terms of his race, class, masculinity, everything that's kind of going on in America and in his life. So I've heard that his writing is really beautiful. I did start it, but I haven't gotten very far. It looks like I'm on page 22. So this is definitely one that I might pick up if I'm feeling like reading a contemporary novel. All right, continuing on. I don't see a lot here. Looking through my romance, I don't see much queer romance down there, so that's something too. If you know any queer romance authors that aren't super cringy, because I'm still just starting to get into my romance bag a little bit, but it's kind of hit or miss. If you know a queer author that writes hard-hitting romance that has like contemporary hard-hitting topics as well as spice, let me know, because I am looking for that. But we're gonna continue up to the top of my next shelf, which is more contemporary. One sec. Now we're up top to my contemporary section, and we're getting into some classics. So let's see what we have. Starting down here. Not seeing a lot. Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo has queer relationships in it, but I'm sure everyone and their mother has read this book. It is worth the hype though, so let me not talk shade, because this was, I believe I gave this 4 or 5 stars. So if you haven't read this book yet, definitely pick it up. There are queer elements in it. It lives up to the hype, in my opinion. I haven't read Malibu Rising yet, which is another Taylor Jenkins read. I'm not sure if there are queer elements in this, because that's the only Taylor Jenkins read I've read, which is Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. There were queer elements in it, so there might be in this book as well, but I'd have to look it up. However, I'm not really feeling a Taylor Jenkins read book right now, so I'm just gonna leave it for the time being. Unless someone really feels like I should read it and I'll love it, then in that case just leave it in the comments and I'll consider it. Ooh, one that I am very eager to pick up is Detransition Baby. And I've had this on my shelf as soon as it came out. It was a recommendation from a friend years ago. I never got around to reading it, so this is one that's very high up on my list. It is about 3 individuals, 3 women, some are trans, some are cis, and there's a baby that's involved, and just different kinds of relationships and what it means to be a family, and kind of breaking some of the stereotypes of what the standard American family is. So I'm excited to pick this one up. Okay, a big one everyone can see is A Little Life. So, quick story about this book is that I picked this up and was really enjoying it. I'm actually on page 499, and it has probably been about 2 years since I picked it up. And that means that I'm gonna have to restart. And maybe I should vlog it like everyone else has done. I know it's really sad, but I haven't gotten to the ending when people like actually really break down, so don't spoil it for me. But I'm thinking about potentially picking this one up for Tome Topple as well. So if I could read both this and Priory of the Orange Tree for Tome Topple at the end of the month, that would be fantastic. So let me know if you're interested in a vlog, potentially with me crying reading this book that everybody says is the saddest book ever. But this is up there for sure. And then for this shelf, I think that's it. I think that's all the queer ones that I'm interested in reading. So now I'm gonna move down. I'm gonna angle you a little bit to my classic shelf. So on this shelf, there's not really a lot that's gonna stand out for like queer reads, but I do have a couple in mind that I might pick up. So the first one is The Picture of Dorian Gray. And I say this because I don't know if there's full-on queer writing or like mentions in this book. I just know that Oscar Wilde was a gay man himself and was pretty outspoken about that. So I think that this could fit, and he is like one of the first figures who is openly gay from what I've gathered. So I'm considering picking this one up. I've been wanting to read A Picture of Dorian Gray for a while. I just think that this would be a classic that could be one of my all-time favorites. So this is a contender for this month. And the only other one is I mentioned reading The Iliad. Oh, I don't know. Let me see if it'll focus. Which I have in this penguin cloth-bound edition, which I got for my birthday from my mother-in-law and father-in-law. So thank you again for that if you're watching. But as I mentioned a little bit ago, I really want to revisit this work and the Odyssey, which I also have here. And then get into a lot of the Greek retellings that are coming out or already out, and some of them I already have on my shelf that you saw. So I would think there's like queer elements in here. I mean, the Song of Achilles comes from these books, so I feel like that would count. I just don't know if this month is the month that I'm going to want to pick up this heavy book. Or not heavy, but just I don't know, I haven't read it in so long that I'm thinking about reading it when I was in high school and like how daunting it was then, but I feel like now that I'm 30, it probably won't be as daunting, but there's still just that little thing about certain classics that's in me, so we'll see. Maybe if you can convince me in the comments, I'll pick it up this month. But yeah, so those are all the options on this shelf. I'm gonna go down now to the black classics. Just give me one second. Okay, moving down, I have some more classics and some black classics that are on here. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of queer related books that I will be picking up for June. Aside from one, I know that I have a James Baldwin that I wanna pick up, but I will move out of the way so you can at least see what's on my shelves. So give me one second. Okay, so like I said, I don't think many of these have queer elements. Correct me if I'm wrong and I'm just missing some, and I can put that as a contender for some things this month, but just let me know. However, the one that I was interested in is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. So this is a classic queer story that I have not read. Because it's so short, I don't know much about it. I just know there's two gay men, and I think it ends pretty tragically. But this is one that's high up there for this month. So if you've read it, let me know how you felt. Alrighty, so you can see the shelf a little bit, not very much on there. So we're gonna move down to the next one. Okay, so the next shelf is more contemporary and some sci-fi, I believe. So to get started, I do want to show that I have, these are all the Kweke and Meze books that I have right now. Their new book, Little Rot, I'll put it on the screen, is actually coming out this month. So I had an idea of reading all of Kweke and Meze's works as a non-binary author because I love The Death of Vivek Oji. I liked Pet and Bitter as well, but I'm very eager to read more of their books. So if I can find time, I would love to get Little Rot and then do a vlog of reading, if not all, but some of Kweke and Meze's books. So these are definitely up there for this month that I'll probably end up reading. Looking over here, there's not much. I've read The Color Purple. This would definitely count. There's a sapphic relationship in here. This book is one of my absolute favorites, 5 out of 5 stars. If you haven't read this yet, consider picking it up in June. Alice Walker can do no wrong. And the movie is actually phenomenal as well. So this is a great black classic that actually has queer elements in it, which I feel like sometimes it's hard to find. So possibly consider this one. And then another one that I've read and absolutely adore is The Secret Lives of Church Ladies. This is a short story collection. It's not very big at all, but this is one of my favorite books of all time. 5 out of 5 stars. I recommend this to everyone. There are queer elements in these individual stories, but they're so good. It's just talking about different relationships about women that are in the black church. And yeah, if you haven't picked this one up, definitely consider picking this up in June. Continuing on over to science fiction, the only one that I think I see that might work is Becky Chambers' The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I know that they write non-binary queer characters, so this should be able to fit in there. I'm sure that it has like a LGBTQ or queer logo on it. It is sci-fi, that's all I know. It's like comfy sci-fi. I'm not really sure if that's what I'm feeling right now. I don't think I've ever read a comfy sci-fi before, so I don't really know what to expect, but who knows, maybe I'll get a wild hair at my ass and just be like, sure, this is what I want. So this is a contender, possibly. Alright, and let me move to the bottom shelf on this shelf and see if there's any other queer reads down here. Alrighty, so looking down here, I don't see a lot. Here's a short story collection, Sci-Fi short story collection, which is Her Body and Other Parties. And this would definitely be considered a queer read by Carmen Maria Machado, which I love. In the Dream House is what I believe it's called. I'll put it here, which is a nonfiction story about their domestic violent partnership. And this is just a short story collection, sci-fi short story collections. I actually started it. The first one was really, really good. Haven't quite finished it yet, so maybe if I'm feeling in the sci-fi mood, I'll pick this one up. I don't think any of these apply. Another one that stands out that I'm very interested in possibly reading is This Is How You Lose the Time War. I know there's a sapphic relationship. It's another sci-fi story with time travel, and it's told in letters from them kind of chasing each other, and they leave letters for each other and then kind of fall in love. So I've heard this is a very unique read, but I know this is a lot of people's like favorite book of all time, so might pick this up if I feel like reading a sci-fi book. Other than those ones, that's pretty much all I see for sci-fi. So now I'm going to move up to my graphic novel section, and we are on the last shelf, so it shouldn't be too much longer. Hang in there. Okay, so we're on the last full shelf, and this one should be pretty quick because it's just graphic novels, young adult and middle grade and children's books. So to start up top, we can look at the manga and graphic novels. I don't see many. I guess My Friend Dahmer could count. This is a graphic novel about Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's written by someone who went to school with him. It was okay. I mean, it wasn't like a 5-star read, but it is really interesting, and I think that this could count as a queer read because Dahmer was definitely a queer individual, even though he may not have wanted to say that, but or admit that, but it's kind of a weird one. I don't know if that's the one that you should really pick up for this month, but it is one that could fit. And then another one that I'm very excited about is My Favorite Thing is Monsters, but the second one just came out, I think at the end of May, and I just picked it up. So I'm so excited to read this because I love My Favorite Thing is Monsters 1, but I had to wait like 5+ years for this book to come out, so I'm very eager to pick this one up. This would also fit in the queer reads for this month. It's just so big, and I would need to read the first one again before picking this one up. So we'll see. This might be a contender for Tome Topple because they're both over 500 pages, I believe. But we'll see. As I go through the next shelf, you'll see that I've read some other graphic novels, so I might push this one to another month. If I had to wait 5-6 years to read this, what's another month, you know? But we'll see what happens. All right, coming down to more graphic novels down here. The one that stands out the most is Heartstopper, which, spoiler alert, I have already read all of these this month. So it is, I believe, the 4th of June, and I have read or reread the first 4 volumes. I read the 5th volume, which was the first time I've read it. And then I actually ordered 6 of their other books, and I finished This Winter, which I liked, this cute little novella. And one moment. I am actually reading Solitaire right now, and all of these books would completely count for the queer reads. So those I've already read and have loved. So if you haven't picked up Heartstopper of any Alice Oseman's books, definitely pick that up if you're interested. But other than that, on this shelf, I think Saga could fit into that as well. This is one of my favorite graphic novels or graphic novel series of all time. Speaking of it, I think volume 11 actually came out this year or at the very end of last year, and I haven't read it yet. So that could be something I would want to pick up as well, but I think because I have already read Heartstopper, I kind of got my graphic novel fill, and I'll push Saga to another month. But if you're looking for a queer recommendation, the Saga series is excellent. All right, let's move on down to the last category, which is young adult, middle grade, and children's. This is just to show one of my shelves, because people will probably ask about it, but I have my Harry Potter and Percy Jackson series here, but not going to be reading any of those this month. So let's move down. Alrighty, so we're in our final 2 shelves. So I'm going to go through these quickly because there's not a lot that I'm going to read for queer month, but let's just go through rules real quick. Clap When You Land is one that I believe has a sapphic relationship in it. I don't know much about it. I just know it's like two sisters, I believe. Their dad like dies in a plane crash, I believe, and they don't realize that they have the same dad and they're like reconnecting is what I've heard. So this is definitely a queer book. If I'm feeling like picking up a YA, I'll gravitate towards this one, so it's on the list of potentials. I've talked about You Should See Me in the Crown, another video, which I'll have linked up here, but this is one that if you haven't read, is a pretty cute book to pick up. I'm actually considering reading this one again in order to read the second book, Something About a Son. I'll put it up here just to support Leah Johnson, and yeah, it's been a while since I've read it, so maybe I'll pick this one up. And if you haven't, this is a great queer read. Other than that, to be honest, I'm not really in a big YA I don't really feel like picking up YA because I've already dove into the Heartstopper series and Alice Oseman universe. So I feel like that's probably just going to be the YA that I read this month, and I'll just pick something else from one of the other adult categories. But as you can see, here are some more of my shelves. Oh! Just kidding. There is one that I am very much considering picking up, and it's called Hell Followed With Us. I know this is from a trans author, and I think it's a trans main character as well, yes. I know it's like the apocalypse or something like that, like the world's kind of ending, and I think that there was some cult that the main character was in, and they like injected him with something to like make him turn into a monster or something like that. I don't know much, but I've also been told to go into it blind. I know that Ashley at BookishRealm has suggested this one quite a bit, and I think reading a trans YA book is important because I don't think I've seen many of those, so this is definitely high up there to read this month. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I am going to leave y'all here, and I'm sure I'll pop in a second with the outro clip. So thanks for shopping my shelves with me, and I'll talk to you in a second. And there you have it. Thanks for spending time shopping my shelves with me. It was actually a lot of fun to go through and look and see and be reminded about a lot of the books that I already own. Like, I feel like I'm privileged enough that I have taken years to buy secondhand and to get a lot of these books in order to have a bookshelf, and I need to prioritize those books, so there's no better way than just having an open-ended prompt, queer reads, and to go through and have plenty of options that I can pick depending on how I feel each day. So this video should be broken up based off of genres. So let me know if you see any that you think I should pick up and I'll really like, or if I happen to miss some that had queer elements in it that you suggest. Let me know down below. Hopefully you're all reading queer this month, at least one book, if not reading queer all month. The only other thing I want to leave you with is I didn't show you my nonfiction shelf, but the book that I'm definitely reading and I've already started is Bad Gays, A Homosexual History, and I'm already loving it a lot. When I mentioned how I knew Oscar Wilde was a gay figure, I knew that already, but there's actually some stories about him and his partner in this book where it starts off, so really cool. But other than that, I feel great being back. Sorry for the camera issues. Still just getting used to it. The autofocus is doing too well of a job in my opinion. But that's it. That's all. Like I said, I'm back. You should look out for my March, April, and May wrap up next week. And other than that, happy reading. Thanks for being here. Like, comment, subscribe if you like what you saw, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!